you're going to do a conspiracy theory video, you've got to put a tiger in your tank. Or in my case, got 3 already. Now, the inimitable, incredibly knowledgeable Gridkeeper, aka Celestial Paladin, aka MI6's most hated man now, is going to continue with this super secret black op by MI6 to build a Nagwal man that can do strategic psychic warfare to destroy Russia, China, North Korea, communist countries, Iran, and of course Venezuela, Cuba.
As we continue spearheading the evolution.
Wow, a pun.
A pun.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir. It took me 45 years to create my first pun. So, Miranda Kerr, MK.
You must admit she's fuckable. That's just another story.
Digress.
Max mentioned many of the teachers at the private boarding school, didn't mention their names, were involved on a need-to-know basis, and he called them masters.
So we're actually having a real Agent 47. If you've ever seen Agent 47, it's about little children that go into a super soldier program and are genetically altered to become super soldiers. Here we're using energetic augmentation, where all the children that die go into the ones that remain. The last 2, one is going to be killed, and then all that energy goes into the last one, which in this case was the fucktard Bloom,
Yeah.
who then started to unravel, because remember, when you merge energy bodies together, you've got to have the agglutinizing force, like a glue, and if you don't have enough of it, then think of it like a torsion field, positive torsion field, negative torsion field holds together. Positive torsion field expands, so you're putting a positive torsion field and you've got to hold it with a negative torsion field. So if Orlando Bloom can't hate enough, then he can't hold the energy together. Black magicians we fucking hate, and we produce immense negative torsion fields, so we can have huge amounts of energy encapsulated within us. But Bloom's a actor, pretty nice guy, and can't generate that malevolence. So he starts to unravel, his alters, that's basically the fracturing of the energy body. So you need to bleed him off, and his handler, Miranda Kerr, bleeds it off with Flynn, the little male boy they have, which then bleeds off energy, and hopefully he stabilises. Well, not hopefully, but that's from their program. So he'd be the occult warfare Agent 47 if you watch the film.
Yeah, and Miranda Kerr was to also stop him from remembering what happened at the boarding school.
Because they want him basically as a Nagwal that is totally controlled by his handler.
So the masters reinforced the programming to both of them with the use of violence and multiple forms of sexual trauma.
And then, of course, Miranda Kerr continues.
Yeah.
So she must have been violently traumatising him.
And this is the bit about the soap. I'll read it as he...
And so KP must be violently traumatising Orlando Bloom.
Yeah.
We all know that Russell Brand... No, that's me violently traumatising KP. We all know that Orlando Bloom is going to be the second husband. The first one's Brand, who was taken by KP to one of her Hillary Clinton pizza rituals, where they get up to all this satanic abuse and ritual cannibalism, and he ran off to the UK and divorced her by text. So we all know that KP is a hardcore Satanist like Hillary Clinton, who's her mentor within Satanism. So she's the perfect handler for Bloom, who supposedly is going to be the Nagwal man who can then use strategic psychic warfare to get Russia, China to destroy themselves, as Colin Bloy and me did with the Soviet Union.
As for the soap bar incident, Max said he felt that this was in fact a screen memory and that something else happened, that he can't recall it, and every time he goes back to try and remember, there's a sort of firewall block. He felt it was some form of reinforcing the memory transfer.
Yeah, with MK Ultra, what they did was traumatise the victims. Cameron, a Canadian doctor, used to put people into morgue coffins, give them colostomies, leave them there for 6 months to completely erase their minds. And it only got upsetting when I think it was the daughter or the wife of the Canadian Prime Minister was processed, which was a bit too far. This violent editing of the victim allowed the MK Ultra wetware to be programmed to be a super assassin or a member with a photographic memory, or they would then experiment whether they could get psychic powers. I talked to my mate from the CIA who came over in '97. He was talking about hypnotic remote viewing, where they could hypnotise people, and they were getting picture-perfect remote viewing. Link them up to a computer now with Elon Musk's brain implants. You get them on TV screen. He was talking about that way back in '97. So as you can see, MK Ultra would then enable you to produce psychic abilities from people, and then if you could merge two of them, which top of an evolutionary tree where only two were left after massive torture competition, you would then be able to build an artificial Nagwal, which is 4 lobes instead of 2, which is the key to accessing the Montauk, Monster of the Id, which is being able to transfer your awareness into the full vector of electromagnetism, which needs you to have a 4-lobed energy body. So the Montauk experiments, which ended in 1970, with the monster killing all the psychics and running amok, and they had to close it down. If you could get a totally mind-controlled 4-lobed Nagwal, which could then produce a Montauk Monster of the Id by linking up to a Sage radar EM broadcaster, you would then have the ability in that one person who's totally controlled now, and you've gotten rid of the Monster of the Id by erasing it, MK Ultra locking the Monster of the Id away in one tiny little room and having a free, clear, as in Scientology, artificial Nagwal, totally controlled by the handler. You would then be able to manipulate the Monster of the Id, this 4 vector, using EM, and be able then to strategically mind control, psychically warfare, all of Russia, all of China, conquer the world. Big plan.
Mm-hmm. Max felt there was a bigger plan coming for both of them.
Which I've explained.
Yeah. But he didn't know what it is exactly.
No, he does.
He had a pretty good idea.
It's a bit like he's dead.
He does, yeah. Since the ceremony happened when they were both 13.
13, of course, which is linking up to the Fibonacci series, 13th term of the Fibonacci series 233, and negative torsion field to contain the energy, linked around 13. So you do the ritual when you're age 13, just by coincidence.
And then we move on.
Move on to where?
Another part.
Whoa. We move on.
Golden Globes.
We dating.
Golden Globes. Ricky comes into this.
Well, he's got light bulbs in the testicles.
Ricky Gervais.
What's he got to do with?
What has he got to do with this?
Why are we bringing in Ricky Gervais? I'm confused.
It sounds confusing, doesn't it?
I know.
It can be explained, as Max said.
Have you been MK Ultra?
Me?
Yeah. Orlando Bloom, Ricky Gervais.
Where's the connection?
Where's the connection? That's it.
Let's take this from, as Max said it. Ricky Gervais's hugely successful television show, The Office, plays a role in this. First off, Gervais is a French name, and Ricky, and Max actually writes in brackets, sorry Ricky, is in fact not English. He is deeply French and has Merovingian blood running through his veins, as do I, and so does Orlando. Around the time of Thomas Becket's murder in Canterbury Cathedral in about...
Who was Thomas Becket?
He was just the guy murdered in Canterbury Cathedral.
But why was he murdered?
I can't remember.
Well, to explain to our viewers...
When I'm tired, I forget things.
I explain to our viewers. Thomas of Becket was talking against Henry VIII because Henry VIII wanted to start up his own religion and go against the Vatican, and Thomas of Becket was standing up against Henry VIII and said he's a heretic, he can't do this, he's going against the true religion, Catholicism, he can't set up his own faith, Church of England. So Henry VIII, in good old Anglo-Saxon, well, he wasn't that, he's Norman, decided that he wasn't having any of this, so he had his knights slaughter him in
Canterbury Cathedral.
There we are, you got your answer.
And the blood, you could still see the blood stain on the floor of the cathedral.
Yummy, yummy for vampires.
I've been there since when I was a child. It's the only thing I can remember about going there, seeing that. So he said there was a priest there at Canterbury Cathedral known as Gervais of Canterbury.
When? Last year?
Around 1170.
When was Becket killed?
Around 1170.
Right.
Yeah. And there's a story about he looked up and saw blood coming down from the moon, and this happened.
Oh, it was a super psychic.
Yeah, this happened multiple times.
Was that priest there when Becket was killed?
Yes.
So then you could, of course, have the original transference of Becket into Gervais, which would be the template for the MI6. Spiers into Bloom.
Yeah.
Remember, MI6 are fucktard, so they need to have, super psychic Gervais, powered by the death of the saint, talking against the evil. Someone
certainly played the long game in this one.
Spear,
Yeah.
a saint talking against all this evil, going into the high priest Bloom, who can then do his things in the eyes wide shut ritual.
So how much does Ricky Gervais really know about all this? Because when he created The Office, there was a character in The Office called Tim Canterbury. Tim Canterbury, the actor that played Tim Canterbury was Martin Freeman. Martin Freeman is...
Well, the black guy?
No. The hobbity guy. And,
small and white.
Yeah. And he is, comes from one of the, as Max said, very famous 13 elite families, the Freeman family.
So they were linking a time bridge between the natural transfer from Thomas of Becket into Gervais into Spear Bloom via the medium of Gervais.
Yeah. With lots of The Office was a very popular program, watched by a lot of people. Very popular.
And we had the
And
little
then-
hobbit guy
And then
with
yeah,
the
So-
elf, Legolas.
Yeah, and it was 10 years later with Ricky's. He said Ricky's very powerful pull in Hollywood business. They cast Martin Freeman, Tim Canterbury as Bilbo Baggins in the Hobbit franchise of the movies.
Gotcha. With Orlando Bloom again.
With Orlando Bloom as well.
Lovely.
And the front cover of the first movie, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, has an extremely symbolic front cover. It has Bilbo Canterbury about to walk through what appears to be a circular portal vortex point which represents the entrance and exit point to the inner earth below the cathedral in Canterbury.
Yeah, timeline between the natural transference
Yeah.
from Beckett into Gervais to power the modern one
Yeah.
from Spear into Bloom.
So Max then stated that his memories became clearer, and he was addicted to drugs. And he said the disease of
Which of course moves the assemblage point,
Yeah.
which allows the transference.
and the disease of the addiction that was induced into him is on remission. With the help of a support group, he can now slowly recall what the hell went on. So he starts to remember, Max, what really happened, and he's I suppose he's hell bent on piecing it all together and finding out what it's all about himself.
But once
at
he
this
achieves
point.
total realisation, they're going to kill him.
Yeah. So he's now getting very close to that.
Yeah.
So he's getting close to the point, and
Where they're going to kill him. Once he achieves realisation,
Yeah.
achieve the unity of all the fractures in his body, kill him to transfer it to Bloom.
Yeah. And he said, my fear with this is that as I let go and surrender to the entity of addiction, it loses its power and I integrate my fractured self. This is the controller's worst nightmare. With full recall, I become the most dangerous man to them.
Yeah, but then they kill him.
Then they kill you.
So if you read the Castaneda books, when they burn the fire within their assemblage point, bounces round to every position that they ever experienced.
Yeah.
So with the fractures, you when you're about to die, you bounce around and recollect all your fractures or your alters. Then they kill you. Burn with the fire from within, but then you've linked yourself to the other one. So instead of burning with the fire from within, total transference into the other one to produce an artificial Nagwal man, which then can be used against Russia, China, and link up with the Montauk full vector monster of the id, totally controlled. Hopefully the monster of the id, the nasty bits have all been suppressed, and we can then use that to get the Russians to bring in a new Khodorkovsky and the Chinese to fracture, have another Tiananmen Square and plagues and various other stuff.
And he said the secrets to, well, their secrets, the MI6 Illuminati secrets, he said were contained within his DNA strands, and he can start to undo all that has been done. The more he said, the more he awakens, the more they send people into his life to keep him repressed and asleep.
And
You
monitor.
look at what happened in Poland. He used to go over there and stay with a Polish woman, and there was times when he was quite groggy and asleep and felt very ill when he was there, which would make sense.
So she was his handler. Because then they'd have,
one wonders.
they
what that
would
was
then
really
have the
about.
final
Yeah.
altar, which when he's actually assimilated all the other altars, he dumps into the last altar, which means he's ready to be killed.
And he was killed in that room. That was the same room he was killed in.
Which of course was the start of World War II, linking up with a huge blood sacrifice. War started in Poland. To link up with them. Yeah.
That's why when he was taken to Poland.
Yeah.
Manipulated to
Exactly.
be
The
in
big
that
blood
place.
sacrifice ritual of World War II started in Poland, initiated.
Yeah.
Because remember, they want to use Bloom and this super Nagwal, well not super Nagwal, but Nagwal, to then use strategic psychic warfare on the Russians, Chinese, conquer the world. So Bloom is vital to the west. I don't know, you know, you couldn't have chosen.
So this document that Max wrote, written by his own hand, he wrote, and they would have seen this. This stops now. That's what Max said. We have already won. So he's got this. You know, not knowing what they're doing or thinking, or what their plan is, their backup plan in case it starts to go wrong. And Max said, it is now a waiting game to see what their next move is. They have become sloppy and predictable, almost like a crocodile always moves his head in the same direction when a piece of meat is dangled in front of his face. Till it bites you. And then he just wrote a bit about the Gervais of Canterbury, talking about the moon bit that I mentioned earlier. And which we don't have to talk about. It's just
No.
the moon thing. And that's,
Remember, I can talk about anything.
And that was it. That was what he wrote, and then he was killed. And that was it. You know?
Which would then have the transference to the fucktard moon.
Yeah, and like I say, when you just look at the amount of newspaper reports, the media that
When he died,
reported
2014 or
this,
something?
is it 16?
2016.
Yeah. I don't know the actual date he actually died. But I know this was written in 2016.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, when he died.
Well, you know,
when it was
about the right
Rifat.
time that KB started dating Blue.
Yeah. Yeah. And here we are. You know. And
So now we can see why KP is with Orlando Bloom, because he is the built High King of the Illuminati with this artificial four-lobed energy body, and is the future of the British Empire.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing we're not talking about it.
Good, isn't it? Yeah, I would never talk about this.
Otherwise,
Especially on camera.
people would start to wonder why the royal family's cozying up to Katy Perry, why Bloomberg's cozying up, Hillary Clinton, Bezos,
Yeah.
and many other billionaires.
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah, and the Greek heirs, billionaires wedding with Bloom, and then Perry comes along. And of course, why we've got the Amazon thing with Bloom about,
Paladin.
you were telling me about some fantasy world series.
Carnival Row.
Yeah.
What's Carnival Row?
About fairies.
It's about fairies.
Is it
And those, what were those? The horns?
Yeah.
satires?
The horned people with like a ram's horn on their head.
They're
Satires?
goat people.
No, they're like goat people, weren't they?
Or
Yes.
from Pan?
Yes, that was, yeah, very much like that. Yes, yeah, oh yeah. It's the legs as well, yeah, Pan,
Yeah, satires.
yeah, yeah. And his girlfriend in there was
Cara Delevingne.
Cara Delevingne. She was the fairy girl.
Gotcha.
They were in love.
From the Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
No, ex-model.
wasn't she the baddie? In the
Ex-top model.
Yeah, she
Evil
was the
sorceress.
evil sorceress. Yeah, yeah, she was the evil sorceress
in
in
Suicide
Suicide
Squad.
Squad. Yeah, I quite enjoyed watching that actually.
Comes from a
Quite-
very
it was
powerful
quite
family
interesting.
too.
Does she?
It's very interesting.
Very
Wow.
wealthy.
So as you can see, the British establishment is, since they can't find super powerful beings, they try to build them,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
which is a bit of a bummer when they come across naturally super powerful nagwalks like yours truly, who feed off Bloom as their, their torch toys.
As Max said, he was involved in Project Mannequin in the UK, which was an extension of the Nazi Uberman Superman project.
Yeah, which is was called the Ahnenerbe.
the Ahnenerbe, to create a warrior and a breeder connections to Montauk, time manipulation projects.
So with
Mentioned.
for Montauk,
Yeah.
they connected psychics up to the Sage transmitter, and if you're going to connect people up to the Sage transmitter in physics, electromagnetic radiation is a full vector, so it's got 4 different directions. So if you're a normal person who's only got 2 lobes, 2 bits to you, then you can't be connected to a transmitter and produce a monster near. So you need to be a Nagwal, 4 lobes. But there's only like 1 in 10 million in the past, maybe now, maybe 1 in 50 million, 1 in 100 million, because of the degradation of the energy field of humanity. So if you can produce a natural one and MK Ultra it, so the monster, the id, which is the natural urges to kill, go mad, blah blah blah, can be suppressed and then controlled externally by a handler. You then have the ability to manipulate this 4 vector vehicle to do strategic psychic warfare. Why would that be important? Well, think of my videos on psychic warfare, cell signal transduction, being able to, with minute amounts of energy, control the health of the cells in a population's body. Or the ATP, NADH plus produces energy, shut that down, 20 seconds they're all dead. Or making sure that the pathogen in the body isn't recognized by the immune system, so they die from it. Coronavirus. So with 1 Nagwal man or woman connected up to Montauk type equipment, you can strategically decimate whole nation states. So you see why MI6 has been interested in this technology and why the Illuminati are, and why it's vital to the Georgia Guidestones to cull the population. Imagine with a Nagwal, you can connect it to the 4 vector, monster the id, and then simply get large amounts of the population dying. So they can't fight viruses, coronavirus, or they get life dysfunction, NADH plus ATP shut down, or cell signal transduction, so they get ill, very ill, and instead of being obese, fat, they just die quickly. So as you can see, control of this technology is vital for the future. And since MI6 were collecting all the Cold War info that Ostrander and Schroeder were collecting, they would be desperate once they knew from the Castaneda work, which on Wikipedia, all false. But of course, the Castaneda stuff was talking about real events, even though Castaneda might have been just the mouthpiece for real people behind the scenes using him. With this technology, of course, you can use psychic warfare to control the world. Kulagina could stop a heart beating. Frog's heart, look at the 1988 CIA document, stopping hearts beating. American psychic could kill a mouse.
They stare at goats.
Stare, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's in the CIA document from 88.
Yeah.
So the amount needed for cell signal transduction changes to make people ill, NADH plus ATP, shut down, or making the body not recognize pathogens so they kill you. If your immune system doesn't recognize a pathogen, it will kill you. That's minuscule compared to stopping a heart or killing a mouse. And with a Nagwal being able to merge with the electromagnetic 4 vector, you've got a whole world of strategic psychic warfare, which means Illuminism can take over the world if they can build a Orlando Bloom who is totally controlled and mind controlled. Fuck, his handle now at the moment's KP, who then can tell him what to do, and the monster he generates is a mind control monster, an MK Ultra monster, which is like a beaten monster, prodded, electro shock therapy, and will do what it wants. So as you can see, MI6 and the Illuminati have been desperate for this technology, and real world naggles like myself, who do what we want, aren't fit for purpose because we just do what we want. So they need their own little artificial ones, but unfortunately the artificial ones don't hold a candle to the real ones like me. Hence, of course, Bloom is nothing but a torture toy. I can simply just extract all the energy from Bloom to me, so the entire program's finished, because you simply call up Bloom, extract the energy, there we are, on camera, all Orlando Bloom's energy from all that massive experimentation done to me on camera to finish the video off, because remember, there's no point doing a video unless I benefit from it.